The Love Life and Lose Weight podcast will teach you the art and science of changing your habits around food. If you know what to do, but can't figure out why you're just not doing it, this is the right podcast for you. I'm your host, Advanced Certified Weight and Life Coach Heather Beardsley. I've helped hundreds of women just like you figure out how to think and eat like a normal eater, lose weight, and love life on the journey to goal weight and beyond. Welcome to episode 85. This is your emergency response plan for unflattering summer photos. Hey, today's episode is a must listen. If you, of course you have, we all have seen unflattering photos of yourself that make you want to cry, throw in the towel, emergency text somebody to take it off social media, or hide in a sweatshirt for the rest of your life. You know, maybe you were feeling good or even proud of your efforts lately when this happens. And then all it takes is for someone to share a shot of you, or maybe they tagged you in a group photo, and like all of a sudden, all of that evaporates. Your brain spirals, and maybe you think thoughts like, oh my God, I thought I was further along than how I'm looking here in this photo. You can hear a negative barrage of descriptors of yourself from a very critical brain that absolutely feel like you are in fight or flight. Also, it's very common to think this is going to take forever because you're looking at this photo and your brain is automatically gauging that you haven't made any progress. And so this sort of time scarcity starts to take hold of your concept of your progress. And also, it can defeat ideas about feeling better because you have this expectation that your body is going to look different. And when you see this photo, it can really tap on these insecurities that linger underneath the surface that say, I may never look the way I want to. I mean, if all this sounds familiar, you are not alone. This moment happens to so many women. In fact, I think Mel Robbins had a podcast about this recently. And one of the takeaways that I do remember from that podcast is that an expert came on and said, you know, the human brain and psyche was never developed in any way to be able to handle this much feedback of how we think about how we look in the outside world. If you think about it, all of our senses are engaged in our perception of other things, but we really don't have anything natural in the natural world to give us a reflection, except maybe, you know, your primal ancestor might have caught a reflection of herself in a pond. You know, the ancient Greek tale of Narcissus and how he catches sight of himself at the water's edge and he falls in love with himself, right? Even this too leads to so much suffering in that old tale. So the truth is, um, we want to be able to have a way to arrest the negative development and total breakdown of our nervous system when we see a photo of ourselves that taps on all of these things. I want you to know that what your brain is offering you is not proof of your failure, it's a trap. And I need you to be aware of when you're falling into the trap, and I'm going to teach you exactly how to escape out of it. Today, we're going to build your 911 response plan. This will hopefully be the one that you'll use next time you go into a meltdown over an unflattering photo. Okay. So, for the first part, I want you to think about what's happening when you go into stress or fight or flight mode when you see an unflattering photo of yourself. I want to start with normalization. Seeing an unflattering photo of yourself can be like truly shocking because it triggers a deep emotional response. So, why is this? The emotional response confronts you with an image that feels out of sync with how you see yourself. especially if you've been working on your health, your body, and your habits to sort of change how you see yourself. And the intrusion of this photo and your how you're seeing yourself in this photo can feel like a betrayal of everything you're working toward. It can feel like embarrassment and it can feel like shame, like there's something wrong with us. And it can feel like all of these three things, betrayal, embarrassment, and shame all at once. And who knows how many other things as well. So, physiologically, what's happening is that your brain is going into survival mode where you feel threatened. This is fight or flight response for you and your self image, who you believe yourself to be. So, you might feel like crying, you could feel mad, you could feel like hiding, you could feel like you want to quit, or you might start like mentally restricting, going right into that diet mentality because you want a fast fix out of how awful this feels right now. And I want you to just hold up when you're in this spiral. And I want you to remember this is not a reflection of who you are. That's the trap. Thinking that it is a true reflection of who you are is the trap. This is a reflection of how our brains react under threat. Okay. Nothing's gone wrong here. You are simply witnessing your physiological response to a threat in how you see yourself. So now we're going to move into like, okay, so what is the lie here? Because if it isn't actually a threat, if it isn't actually proof that who you think you are is actually the photo and not how you see yourself, then where's the lie? Right? So the photo is the lie. And here's my evidence to support that point. Photos are not objective data points, they're snapshots taken from one particular angle with certain lighting, shadows, oftentimes taken without your permission or even knowledge. And oftentimes the photo is taken in the moment of movement or a conversation where you're not prepared for the photo. In the photo, what's happening is you're seeing yourself through the harshest lens of your own perception. This is the lens of your inner critic who is holding the camera when you look at this photo. Photos of ourselves feel very vulnerable, even in the most flattering photo. It's an exposure. It feels like an exposure and a vulnerability. So when you perceive that the photo is unflattering, okay, what you're doing is there's a void created here where your inner critic is the one who's going to narrate what the photo means. Okay. So have you ever taken a photo where you looked amazing and then you looked back on it and then you feel cringy because you see something else in the photo? The question is, which one of these perceptions is real? And the answer is they're all real. And also, none of them are real. The problem isn't the photo, although there are many problems with photos. The problem is that the story your brain is telling that you allow when you look at the photo. So let's go over some of the other problems with photos. I took a drawing class about a year and a half ago. And one of the first things that my art teacher made us do was that she taught us that the angles that the camera catches on your phone are not representative of what objects actually look like with our eyes. So remember this, the lens on a camera is not the same as how you perceive the world with your eyes. And that alone accounts for differences in how we see ourselves. Okay, so what my art teacher had me do was to take a photo of my friend in a hallway. And we looked at the depth, the range of depth of the photo. You know how you can zoom in or zoom out? And she said to take it at like one setting and then take it at another setting. And she said, okay, look at your friend's feet. And in the one that the camera automatically defaulted to, her feet were way too small compared to how I actually saw her feet with my eyeballs. So things that get stretched and distorted on a camera lens. I mean, if you have one of these newer iPhones, you can see that they need three fucking lenses on the camera to just get closer to capturing what things look like in a different range of perspectives. You need to have three different lenses. And even that is not even close to what our human eyeballs are able to capture. Have you all ever tried to take a photo of, for example, a full moon or even a sunset? We've all done this, right? Because it's so beautiful with our eyes. And then you look at the photo and you're like, oh, this doesn't do it justice at all. Like this does not recreate the majesty of what I'm seeing with my eyes. And you really need to remember that no one with their eyeballs is seeing you the same as how you look in a photo that was taken through a camera lens. Okay. So, all of that really isn't the issue either. It's the story your brain tells when you look at a photo that challenges your idea of how you look. Okay. So, here's your emergency response plan. We have 4 steps. I'm going to walk you through them. Step 1 is to feel first. I don't want you skipping over the top level reactionary emotion that you're feeling. You are allowed to feel disappointed. You're allowed to feel upset, whatever it is. I want you to just sit with it for a moment and validate how you feel. Allow it. Don't resist it. This sucks, and that's okay. Emotions don't mean anything's gone wrong. They just mean that you're a human being having a human response to a photo, an unflattering photo. Okay. So, first one is allowing, validating how you feel as normal. Step 2, challenge the mental narrative. And beyond what you feel, ask yourself this question: what am I making this photo mean about me? And write that down. Hey, it's Heather. We're taking just a quick pause so I can tell you about something that can change the way that you reach your weight goals. The Follow Through Planner is a digital system I designed to help you create calm, focus, and steady progress toward your weight goals without the pressure to be perfect. Imagine opening your laptop and knowing exactly what matters most this week and today, feeling grounded in your goals, confident in your plan, and proud of how you're showing up for yourself. Imagine knowing in any particular day how many overeats you've had and how consistent you're being at stopping at your desired percentage full. That's what this planner helps you do. You'll get coaching based tools I designed to help you organize your time, follow through on what you care about, plan your meals, and build momentum for your weight goals that lasts. To learn more about the digital follow through planner and get your copy and even your discount code, head to hbeardsley.com/planner. That's HBEARDSLEY.com/planner. For example, the response could be, it will mean that no matter how much weight I lose, I'm never going to look the way I want to look. Or that I thought I was so much further along. It feels like this is going to take forever. Or if I look like this, why am I feeling so good about my progress so far? So write those down and then ask yourself, is what I'm thinking actually true? Or is this just a thought, not a fact? So you're going to challenge the perceived truth of your mental response to what you're making the photograph mean. So this is called reframing. So you're going to take your automatic response and you're going to reframe it based on what you do know is true and not just an emotional reaction. So, for example, a reframe could be, I don't like how I look in this, but this doesn't take any of my progress away. It could be, I may never love my arms, but there's other parts of my body that I know look better than before. Or you could say, maybe this is a good opportunity for me to try some other things besides just losing fat. Like maybe I want to go and lift weights so that I can use some other levers to influence what my body looks like and how strong I feel as well. So look at the thinking, the automatic, what you make the photo mean. That will tell you a lot about your unchallenged assumptions about yourself. And this is where you get to shape those assumptions to thinking on purpose in ways that don't feel so bad. Okay. So, step one is to feel it first. Step two is to challenge the mental narrative and reframe it. Step three, remember your actual progress. Now, I already touched on this a little bit. I want you to list all your wins. What habits have you been following through on? Go back to your seasonal plan and review. How much fat have you lost? What's happening with your muscle, right? What about your habits around food? How many overeats do you have? And then compare that to 3 months ago, 6 months ago, even 12 months ago. How are you eating differently? Yes, you might still have overeats, but how do your overeats compare to how you were overeating a year ago? When I ask my clients this, they're like, oh, there's no question. Like, I am just such a better eater. And so much so that I can't even believe I'm being kind of down on myself for what I'm noticing. So you can see it's not just this doesn't just happen with unflattering photos. Your brain is a negative machine. It's designed to notice things that could be evidence of things going wrong. And you want your brain to do that for when things are actually going wrong. Right? When there's actual threats in your environment that you need to respond to, you want your brain noticing those things. But in instances where you're perceiving, how am I doing through a photo, you just got to know that that whole process, you can't let your primal brain hijack that experience. You've got to balance the scale of how am I doing with listing actual data for your progress. And this is why I set up my planner to be so data driven so that you can literally just open up your planner, look at your monthly plans and reviews for the past 6 months, look at your seasonal plans and reviews, and see the data that your brain isn't going to remember when you're hijacked by negative emotion because you saw an emotionally triggering, unflattering photo. Okay. How have your clothes been fitting differently? That's evidence of actual progress. What mental wins have you noticed? That's actual progress too. So just photo won't show any of that stuff. And even if it doesn't mean it's not also happening, right? Okay. So step one, feel first. Step two, challenge the mental narrative about what you make the photo mean and reframe it with thinking on purpose. Step three, remember your actual points of progress by looking through your data and listing your relative wins compared to before. Step four is your final step. Repeat your recentering mantra. So pick a mantra and repeat it for yourself to help yourself through this difficult reactionary time. Maybe it's something like, I'm not going backward, I'm just in the middle of my story. You could say, photos don't owe it to me to give me the mental feedback that I crave about how I'm doing. That's my job. And if I'm relying on negative photos or unflattering photos to give me that feedback, I'm not showing up and giving myself that feedback. That is an essential part of the process of changing your habits around food and changing your weight. There is mental work to be done here. And oftentimes, an unflattering photo reveals the lack of validation, counting your progress, counting your wins, and maybe the lack of cheerleading that you're doing for yourself every day. And this, for weight loss to be sustainable, we have to develop those habits that keep us going. You have to become your own coach who is like, tell me your wins before you tell me your challenges. Tell me about relative progress. Tell me about how you're different than 6 months ago. Let's count all of that stuff. Okay. Another mantra, I trust myself to keep going, even when this feels hard. Another one, this photo is not the full picture. And ain't that the truth? One of the reasons why I do really appreciate social media these days is I oftentimes do see, especially from photographers and on social media, and they say like even how models demonstrate when you don't sit a certain way or know how to like arrange your body to take a photo, that even models who are photogenic can have an unflattering photo. So, if you want to take better photos, take some kind of class. I'm sure photographers have them, right? These little online classes that you can take for how to pose for photos in ways that like help you show up in photos. And that too could be some work for you. I mean, you can always manage your thoughts about unflattering photos, or you can just do the work to like arrange your body in ways that help you take photos that aren't so challenging for you. I mean, you can also ask your friends to, hey, before you tag me in a photo, can you just run it by me first? That's totally okay too. And they might say no, they might say yes. But, there is due diligence that you can do here. Okay. When I'm coaching, inevitably this comes up with my clients. And here's how it goes. Feelings of discouragement happen after seeing an unflattering photo. And her brain makes it mean that the hard work she's been doing doesn't matter. That inner critic has the microphone. And she also makes it mean I look horrible. I'll never make progress and I'll never get there. This is going to take forever. So I want you to see that if you journal about this hard moment and you actually feel your feelings, instead of thinking quitting on yourself or overeating over this is better, is a sign itself of amazing progress. It means that you can hold space to not abandon yourself when you feel bad, when you feel challenged in what you're trying to create in your life. I mean, not negatively reacting in ways that make it worse is such a sign of progress. I really want you all to see this. Okay. Reaching out to yourself, to a trusted friend, talking it out, journaling about it, or talking to your coach about it is evidence that you are not allowing these inevitable moments that challenge you to defeat you. So walk yourself through the 4 steps, name the thoughts, challenge them, remind yourself of the data and the progress, even if it's relative progress. Cheerlead yourself, encourage yourself, and tell yourself that one unflattering photo is not the arbiter of truth about what you're trying to create in your life. Okay? Escaping that moment, trying to escape that moment because you really believe it's true, is something that I want you to overcome in your life. Always question the truthfulness of the hardest feeling thoughts that your brain thinks. And when you feel like you're like that caged animal that it hurts so bad to be thinking what you're thinking about yourself, that those moments deserve your time and your attention to figure out ways to wiggle out of the moment. These hard moments when we're really triggered, whether that's like moments that trigger your trauma or just terrible memories or that remind you of really hard things that you tend to think about yourself, I always want you to tell your brain that there's always an escape out of that hard moment that doesn't make it worse or that doesn't prove what you're thinking is true. And you can even give yourself a symbolic like tool to get out of those moments. When you can just pause enough to look at yourself from a removed perspective. I always like this metaphor of like, Wimbledon when they're playing tennis and there's the line judge is up on that like lifeguard thing watching the game. I want you to go from in these hard moments from playing the game of tennis, and I want you to put yourself up on that line judge's like lifeguard stand where you're watching yourself from a removed perspective so that you can strategize. How can I play this moment differently so that I can get out of this really hard moment that feels like I want to escape? Because there's always a way for you to change one element to feel better. And this is the 4 steps that I'm giving you to escape. It's your emergency response plan for unflattering photos. Pull yourself out of being in the moment to watching the moment and looking for that little escape hatch to get you out of it. Maybe it's that you just say, your mantra. Maybe it's that you go through all 4 steps. Maybe it's that you remember that how you look is always how you look. And no camera can accurately capture how you truly look because it's not with human eyes. Okay. So this work isn't about perfect photos. It's actually about building a self identity for yourself, strong enough to withstand an imperfect moment, your perception of an imperfect moment. What do I mean by that? This isn't just about weight, right? It's not just about your body. We're all doing this work as we age as well. Don't you want to be 99 where you have a self identity that's strong enough to know that you're not the face that looks back at you as a 99-year-old? You're so much more than that. We're so much more than how we ever appear in our lives. When we were super young, we were dismissed because we had no life experience. And when we become middle aged, we're sort of overlooked for all the work that we do, right? The silent labor that we do and in service of our profession or our kids. And as we grow older, especially as women, a lot of times we feel unseen. So when an unflattering photo comes in, even ourselves, we're not really seeing ourselves, the full story about who we are, both our external appearance and how we feel on the inside too, because the inside will always be changing and we can influence how we do that, but we can't control it always. We can't control it with all factors, even in our weight, and especially not at all with how we age. I mean, again, we can influence, but not control. So again, I want you to have an emergency response plan for when life gives us that jarring moment that doesn't align with how we see ourselves. And the truth is, how other people view you is never a true reflection of who you are. I heard somebody once say, as soon as you think you know your partner, like the inside of your pocket, is when you've really gone wrong, because we never really know other people, right? How can we? We can't know everything that's in their heads. And so the only person who really knows you, who you really are, is you. So define who you are by not only how you look. Okay, yeah, that's one part of who you are. But a better definition is your values, right? Your what you stand for, your habits, how you show up in your life, how you treat other people, and how you treat yourself. So in this moment, when you feel really triggered and it feels really awful, just know it's normal. You're physiologically reacting to protect how you see yourself. And that is the privilege of a lifetime, to do that work, to redefine who you are, that you're always changing. Your body is always changing, and that's okay. One photo taken from a lens of a camera is not actually how you look. It's one perspective that does not define you. Okay. So pause, use your 911 response plan. Don't hide or restrict, just recenter and reground yourself to how you want to see yourself. And that will program your brain to know that you are safe no matter what kind of photo you see of yourself. Okay. Stay focused. It's so long. Hey, if this episode resonated for you, then let's connect. Visit hbeardsley.com/subscribe. That's HBEARDSLEY.com/subscribe and become a VIP subscriber. You'll learn how to work with me. You'll get 2 free gifts, access to exclusive VIP content, and get a discount on the digital follow-through planner.